right. I think I got on this time. I'm sorry. It took me a couple tries to get it, but I think I'm here now. So I'll give you a few minutes to get in because I didn't do this. I didn't do one of these early. I should have thought about it, but I forgot. So I'm here now, and this is our Thursday night landscape. And here is what I've been working on so far. So, hi, Susan. I'm so glad you could find me. I forgot to make an early version of this. I forgot to okay, let me stop and think. I'm blaming it on paint fumes now because I've been painting all day. See, I've got paint everywhere. But the kitchen cabinets, there you are. Marie is here, and Vicky is here, and Susan. I'm so tickled. So we're going to be working on the landscape, and here's what I've gotten done. I haven't touched it since the last time I saw you on Sunday. Hi, Kathleen Ziegler. So good to see you. So I'm sorry, I started a live stream, and the little thing just kept going around. So I had to get back out and try it again. But I am here. And how is everyone? Are you chilly? Is it warm or cold where you are? I had the garage door open today when I was painting kitchen cabinet doors. And then finally, when the sun went down, there went any heat, and it got chilly, so I closed the door. This time of year, I still go barefoot, so my feet never warm up. But I'm trying to, I took a shower after I painted today, thinking I would get the paint off. No, it's not. I mean, I was scrubbing too, but I've got paint everywhere. So now, anybody will start off. Does anybody have any questions about doing this landscape? 21 degrees. Oh, and Vicky, how are you feeling, sweetheart? You were feeling so bad the other day, and I worried about you. Is chilly in Washington? I think that's where Kathleen Ziegler is, Washington State. Oh, Virginia. Hello. Nova Scotia, Canada. I love Nova Scotia. So I took a marine biology course when I was 16, and we had a choice to go to Nova Scotia or to go to Key West, Florida. Well, I went to Key West, Florida, just because I heard that even in the summer, you could only stay in the water in Nova Scotia for about 20 minutes. And, you know, now I'm like a polar bear. So I would have been fine in Nova Scotia now. But, oh, gosh, I've even got paint here on my arm. So it is so good. Oh, you're feeling better? Thank goodness. Oh, you're fed up with snow in New Jersey. And Maureen, I meant to ask you, sweetheart, did you mind if I used your photos on our Sunday live stream? I show photos people send, but I always like to check first. Oh, you lived in Key West in early 79s. Oh, you know, I went to Key West in 74, 72. And it was something else. So, okay. Now, I'll talk a little bit about how I got where we are. Anytime you have a question, you need help with something for your landscape, interrupt me. Susan will help me see, and then I'll stop and answer your questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of recap what I've done to this point and show you some things I brought down with me that I'm going to be working on the next stages. So, oh, yeah. Okay, I see. 71, 72, 73. Yes. All right. So I have a drawing I had made just to kind of, with some colored pencils, just to kind of give me an idea of how I wanted it to look, what colors I wanted to put in. So I keep that handy. And I've got threads and different accessories and pretty things to put on it. The first thing I did was took a piece of muslin. Doesn't matter what you put it on. This is just your foundation. And in fact, I'm going to need another piece of this, and I'll tell you why. But I'm probably going to get, for that, I'm probably going to get a very lightweight, really cheapy throwaway piece of muslin. Okay. So, oh, the paper. Yes, it's called Golden Threads paper. And the reason I like it, let me grab it. Good job, Susan. Thank you. Oh, yeah, good job. Okay. Let me find my Golden Threads paper. Hold on. It's in here, I know. I have a roll of it somewhere. It has gotten lost in the back of the cabinet, I'm afraid. Oh, well. I have Golden Threads paper, so I can show you what the paper looks like, a piece of it. And this is what I draw my pattern on. And I like it because, whoops, this is the correct way. I like it because you can see through it. Kind of reminds you of parchment, but it is just a lightweight paper, but it has a special quality about it. So I drew this up, and then I folded it into fourths, so that each section you would be able to print out on your printer. Okay. Oh, hi, Polly. I'm sorry, I totally forgot to set up a promotion, like to say, okay, this is when I'm going to do it. I remembered to put it in our group, but I forgot. But anyway, so I folded it up like this, so I knew that you could then print out 4 pages on your printer, tape them together with the registration marks, and then you would have a complete pattern. So I don't want you to have to, go to a special copy store and do all of that. I've been there and done that and spent $26 one time to have something enlarged. And then, I'm the type person, I don't really think I need to. Oh, thank you, Susan. Linda Beaupre from Quebec, Canada. Hi, Linda. So, there's Jody. This is great. Yes, anybody who would like a copy of the pattern, it's free. I send it to you by email. And hopefully you know how to set your printer so that it just prints the size I send the file. Don't have it print to fit. Print to fit would shrink it. So hopefully just let it straight print. So, good job. Okay, so I had my fabric, and you would refer to this as the foundation. This is a foundation piece. You can do foundation piece similar to paper piece. People used to do foundation piecing. Our grandmothers would have used it. And you can do log cabins on it, whatever. A lot of times if you check on an old quilt, you'll see an old scrap of fabric that they maybe drew on and knew to know where to sew their new fabric on. So it's called a foundation. And I started at the top. And what I did, and I have a video on this, so don't worry. You'll see it. But I pinned this to the top of the fabric, making sure I had a good couple inches around all sides. Because as you sew things, as you quilt it, as you trapunto, it will pull up. It will shrink up. And so you have to make sure you have a little extra fabric. Okay. So I pinned it on the top. That way I could lift it up, see exactly where to put my fabric. Because that way, sometimes when you're working on something and it's especially if it's like laying down, that's why painters always use an easel and put their board or their canvas eye level, because when it's laying down, it throws off perspective. And perspective is how the science of making something look farther away. And so if you get your perspective mixed up, then it's a mess. So I do like this. Judy Lilly of North Carolina, beautiful painter, taught me how to use the Golden Threads paper and to make a pattern. And in fact, see my house? See the house back there on the wall where my finger is? That's from a class I took with Miss Judy Lilly. So she's wonderful, wonderful teacher. And if you ever get a chance to take a class with her, please do. She's a painter. I think a watercolor painter. So talented. So anyway, so I had the pattern, and the whole time I was laying all these pieces of fabric, I kept the pattern on top. I would just lift it up. I just pin it along top, lift it up, place my piece, lay the pattern back down, check to make sure it looked good. And then, you know that I use, where is my glue? I might have put it away on Sunday. So I just use a good old, here it is. I use a good old bottle of school glue. And I buy it by the gallon because I use it for applique. I use it for paper bead making. I use it a lot. So I just keep the bottles filled. And I just put a dot of this to hold the fabric in place until you sew it in place. So, yes, and we have a groups IO, and we'd love to have you on there. And I think Maureen is one of our newest members of the group, I do believe. And we're so tickled to have her on there. Patricia Fry is here. Yeah, she's from Myrtle Beach. Yes, she does. So Judy Lilly does have a website. Thank you, Patricia. I love promoting such talented, wonderful people. So, and she does have patterns for sale, so that makes it pretty easy. And if you want to, you can always use a light box in deciding how to cut your fabrics. And I have that on the video too. If you don't have a light box, take your pattern, tape it to a window or glass door, lay your fabric over it, tape your fabric up, and then draw through it with a pencil or a friction pen, something like that. So if you don't have a light box, don't worry. You need very little to do this. Now, I'll just show you this so I can get it out of the way, but I have batting scraps. This is a very nice high loft polyester, and then I have some cotton scraps. I'm going to use this to do trapunto to this quilt to give the mountain ranges and trees a little extra oomph. So I won't be doing this yet. First, I've got to sew everything down, thread paint, then trapunto and quilting. But I did want to show you this because I will be covering this. And I thought, I don't know if this works for y'all, but I thought I might just do Landscape Thursdays, 7:30 for about an hour. That way you can watch me work on this. You can work on it. You have me to actually ask questions about anything about it so we can learn together exactly. And then make sure you send me pictures of your work, even as you're working on it. I'd love to see it. And then if you allow me to, I'll show the pictures on our Landscape Thursdays. So to me, this is easier than making a video. And I like the personal interplay so I can answer your questions live. So you don't have to worry and wait until the next video comes out. So I'm here to help you. This is the method. Mostly this is my method because I'm not very formal. I kind of play. And this is something I've learned through playing. And I kind of call it collage. You've heard this term, collage landscape, which means you cut, you glue, you sew. It's not about perfection. I don't care about raw edges. You're not going to turn the edges under and stitch it down unless you want to. You can do it any way you want because it's your quilt. So this is just, let's play and have fun. I used to love art in elementary school because you got to cut stuff out and just whatever you saw, whatever you thought about. And that's what this is. This is time to play. So the first thing I would say is go online, look up, type in mountain landscapes or mountain landscapes with water, with a lake or whatever, and then make yourself. Yeah, don't worry. So you can just, if you want to listen and just absorb until you have time. And this will also be up. So everything I talk about, you'll be able to refer back to, which is pretty cool. But I decided that I wanted purples and blues. Now, I live close to the Smoky Mountain and the Blue Ridge Parkway. So, of course, I love purples and blues and grays and things like that. Okay, we'll keep doing our Landscape Thursdays. And so I decided I wanted purples and blues. And I love putting water in my quilt, so I knew I wanted to put a little bit of water in. And as I was looking through, I go online and you bring them up, whether you use Google Chrome or Bing or whatever. You can type in mountain landscape images or photos or quilts or whatever. And I don't want to copy anyone else's work. So what I do is when I see something that looks really interesting, I click and drag it into a folder that I list as mountain landscapes. And I will show you something. Let me take it. I'm so thirsty right now. And I told Mark I need a Coke because I was running on low. I need a little caffeine and sugar. All right, so let me turn the camera around and I'm going to show you how I save the pictures that I discover, because I refer to those as my inspiration. I'll take, oh, I like how they did that tree, or, oh, I like how they did that water, or, oh, I like the mountain that color. So I take ideas and then I put together my own original work. Okay, so here we'll go. Let me turn the camera around and, whoops, let me get this off. Okay, now let me show you what I'm going to be doing is showing you how I save my work, because this is I feel like it is important. Yeah, I did have 2 tacos tonight with Mark and then ran down real quick. Okay, so what was I going to tell you? I was going to tell you that this is a very important step. Please remember that. So I've got this folder and it says, whoops, mountain landscape. Okay, so I make this folder and I make sure I know where it is. And then you'll see the pattern pieces I've got in here and then the picture of what I've done so far. But I also have another, whoops, my camera's getting a little loosey-goosey. Whoa! Okay, so then I've got this folder that says mountain landscape. Now let me bring this up. And as you can see, this is what I consider is my research. And so what I'll do is bring this up and just show you a few of these. But I go over the internet. I spend that couple hours because it is time very well spent. Let me see. I'm having a little trouble getting it up. Let me keep trying. But because honestly, every artist does this, whether you go out to nature and find the exact scene or you do research and look up. So let me see. I'm going to get in close so I don't have to take the time to constantly manipulate them. So there's a different view. I saw this deer on a quilt and I thought, oh, that might be fun to put on a quilt. And look at all this mountain and stream. So I was looking for water in it. There's a nice big lake and a bunch of mountains. I thought this was pretty. And this is where I saw the trees and thought, ooh, trees. And I liked that they were off center. Now, not everything will I use part of. I thought the sky on this was absolutely beautiful. That's what made me start thinking about using pastels or hand-dyed for my sky. Here's another. So as you look at this, you'll see, oh, okay, I saw something here or there. Anything that it all draws my interest, I just save to that folder. Now, you see I got a lot of ideas for how to place my lake by looking at this one. But if you'll notice, everything else is different. Oh, that's my own. Okay, let me see. Here, I loved the swaths of fabric and that. That kind of looked like an Andrew Wyeth artwork. But I just pulled out things. Whoops, that was from Sonia. I don't know how it got in there. But I just kind of pulled out ideas. And I still refer to these because I like to see, well, what color did this one person? This is the picture of, it's a tree-like fabric where the person cut the tree line out of it. I thought that was very smart, so I saved that to remember that. I loved how this person cut the fabric for the top of the mountain. So I'd like to do something like that. And I'm not going to make mine quite as far, but I did a tree that has one branch, so I can put a few little leaves in it. Maybe this is the one with the trees. But I knew that I loved those trees, and I didn't want them to be a big part of it, just as I called them silent sentinels. But see how I was looking at colors of mountains, purples and blues, and in fact, you know what? This is where I got the idea of what to do for my sky. So, all right. Well, I could go on and on for a long time, but I hope that gives you an idea. Pardon me. I hope that gives you an idea of where to go to get your inspiration. And you will know as you look at all the different pictures, ooh, I really like that one. Or, ooh, I really like this one. And like I say, I refer to them over and over. So I consider my folders of inspiration very valuable. And that is my research. So, and the other day, what was I watching? I was watching a show on Leonardo da Vinci. And it's so interesting because I was telling you, I only had 1 year of college, and I did take a color course, but a lot I've picked up along the way. And they were talking about Da Vinci understood enough about atmosphere to know that things in the distance are grayed. And I got through telling you all that in my video, that the atmosphere between here and a mountain far away kind of gives it a gray or a blue cast. Also, things further away aren't as distinct and sharp because the atmosphere keeps you from seeing all the details. And that as things come closer to you, you give them more detail, more color, more definition, and that will give you the perspective, that distance. So any questions what I have so far? Hello, Sonia, sweetie, and Busy Pet's here too. Marcia's here. Look at all my favorite people are here. This is great. This is great. So good to see you. So anyway, now one of the problems I talked about on my video and Sunday was that I used some hand dyes to do the sunset in the back. But unfortunately, I think it came out more like its own mountain. So I'm going to work on that tonight. And this, oh, thank you, Susan. Y'all are great. Oh, that's fine. I know on an evening it can be tricky. And so let me see now. All right. So I want to work on improving. I want to work on improving here is my blue sky. Okay. Here's my blue sky. And then I've got one layer of tulle on here already, but I added some hand dyes to give some sunny streaks to the sky. Well, there's a couple problems. One is, what direction is my sun? When you sit down to do I put one layer of tulle, but it's not enough. When you sit down to do any kind of landscape, first thing, where is the light coming from? And even if it were dark nighttime and you've got a street light or a lantern, that's your source of light. So I have decided that my light is going to come from over here. So that means I'll get sun and bits of it over here. So what I'm going to do, and I don't have my fabric here, but I am going to build up a little bit more of, oh, come on. I'm going to build up a little bit more of this reflection. But first, what I'm going to do with you tonight is to show you how can I soften that down a touch more. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is later on is use my inktense pencils and my inktense pencils and a liquid medium, and I'm going to blend this better into the sky, because right now one of the major problems I have is it's a little too abrupt right here, where normally it would kind of fade, kind of bleed out into the sky. So, but what I'm doing right now is just pulling back what I've already glued down. And you know what? It's not a problem because it's just a little school glue, and you can glue it back and iron it back down. So see how I've loosened that up? Now what I'm going to look at is deciding how I can calm this down, because it looks like a mountain. It doesn't look like a sky. And I don't want to wait just for Inktense because I think it's going to take more of that. So what I think I'm going to do is put down some of this gray Inktense. And see, if I do 2 layers of it, that's too much. It takes the color out. So Jody was in our group early on, and we hadn't seen her a while, and I'm thrilled she's back. She actually belonged to our Yahoo group too. So I am thrilled. Now I don't want to darken the color, so what I'm trying to decide, let me pull you up, that's about as close as I can get you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay white tulle over it. I'm going to lay 1 layer of gray tulle, Tulle. Well, that looks pretty good, or should, I think 2 might make, that just takes the color out of it, see? So, now what if I did 1 layer, I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of the gray tulle and tuck it in underneath the mountains in front. And see, there's nothing to be afraid of. You just jump in and you do it. Just try to think about how you felt when you were 6 years old and doing art projects at school and what fun it was. Now, I'm wondering, is that darkening it too much? So I'll pull this up, and now let's try. Instead of trying 1 layer of gray, I'm thinking 2 layers of white. Now, I've already got 1 layer down. This is tricky. I'm kind of thinking it might just be 1 more layer. Because as I said before, I've got a layer. See how my finger's under the tool? Or netting? All right, so how will it look if I do 1 more layer? It's getting tangled. So if I think 1 more layer is probably all I should do at this point. And then when I come back and, all right, so now I need to cut this thinner. It's too wide. Let me see. I'm looking to see if you have any questions. Yes, isn't it amazing what tulle can do? And then I was telling people before that I can always dye this. So I'm having a little tricky problem right here. Let me get the extra out of the way. Okay, here we go. So I need to cut this thinner. I think that I'm probably worrying a little much about this but because I really think that when I come in with the inktense later on, it's going to take care of most of it. But I hate waiting too long because by the end, it'll be too late to go back and add this. So, but next time you go to Joann Fabrics, grab some cheap tulle or Fabric Wholesale Direct. You can get a whole bolt for $14. So, and they've got numerous colors and crystal tulle, which has a sheen to it, which is exciting, especially if you're going to do like underwater scenes. Now, what I'm going to do right now is just press this glue it and press it down. But later on, I will come back and cut the excess off so that when I go to do my inktense, it won't interfere. I don't want the inktense stuff to get caught in between the little netting squares. And I'm hoping tomorrow that I will wake up and feel like going to Pineapple Fabrics. They're having their sale today, tomorrow, and Saturday. And I got an email from them saying they're offering the whole 20% off, just like if you were in the store. Now, I'm not trying to talk you into getting into trouble, just telling you what's out there. So let me put a little bit, touch more glue down here. All right. So now put this down. Then I put glue on the back of these fabrics so that I only glue the fabric. I don't put it where it's not needed. Then put some on the tree, just little blotches here, there. Okay. And I use school glue because I'm too cheap to spend money and buy an expensive glue. And it's always worked beautifully for me. So now I'm going to take my iron. I was worried about ironing over tulle, but I had no problem with it at all. Take a tissue and dab up where I glued the tulle down. There was a little bit coming through. So now I'll just come in here. I haven't had a bit of problem with it. I'm careful with it, but I haven't had any problems. Okay, this has to go this way. So now I ironed everything back down. And I think it gives a better look. And then when I come in with my inktense, so what I'll do later on is take a small pair of scissors and cut it right here, right above the fabric, so I can use my inktense. But okay, so now I solved that problem. Now the next thing, and this, whoops, where did this go? I think it went right back in here. I thought there was another piece of this. Okay. Let me put a little glue here and stick this back in here. Whoops. I thought I was missing something. All right. And another thing I will do is when I use the inktense and when I do thread painting, I will emphasize the mountains. And that way it'll pull it out from this being the sunset in the sky. So I hope that makes sense to you. But we will be coming back. Do not worry. This thing is going to go through so many stages. It'll go through a stage where it looks great, and then one day you'll look at it and say, it's ugly. I have no talent. Why am I even doing this? But trust me, It'll go back and forth, but you will do beautifully with it. All right. Any questions? I'm looking. Let's see. Is Pat Fry going to? Oh, that's wonderful. What time will you be there, Pat? Do you have any idea, love? They will not have their fabric by the pound tomorrow, but they'll have all of their kits and things, and fabric by the bolt. It's already a good price, and it will be 20% off tomorrow. Inktense you can find Inktense on Amazon, and what it is, it's a pencil, looks like a colored pencil. In fact, let me go grab mine. That way you'll know what to get. Oh. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what I have done with my Inktense. But Inktense, let me try to get this. Whoops. Inktense is a art pencil made in England that has fabric dyes in it. So you color this. Come on. Okay. So it has fabric dyes in it. And so you color it like you would a colored pencil. But the moment you touch water, or preferably what they call gel medium, liquid medium, you take a paintbrush, you touch that to it, it gets wet, the color blooms. And it's permanent, especially if you take a warm iron to it or a hot iron to it. But it's just opened the world because you can paint on fabric as easily as using colored pencils. So Inktense is wonderful. Now, they tend to be a little bit pricey, so it's a good thing to put on the Santa Claus list. But you can find them on Amazon, I know, but you have to look for the Inktense that is for fabrics, that's permanent fabric dye. It used to have a peacock on the package, and now it might have a whale. But, I love them. They're so much fun. And you can just take white fabric and draw out a pattern. And instead of doing applique, you draw it and paint it. So I have a video or two, and maybe one of these Thursdays we'll do it too. So what I'm going to do now is bring you back down and show you what do you do once you've glued your fabrics on. And just remember, too, that you go lighter, grayer, farther away, and get brighter, more intense, closer to you, okay? So let me get my camera set back up. I'm sorry I couldn't find it. I'm not sure what I did with it, and believe it or not, my countertop over there, really messy. It's piled up again. This area is looking pretty good. The counter is a mess. I don't have time to get to it right now. I will eventually. All right, here we are. Derwent Inktense. Very good. Very good. And if you can afford it, I recommend getting at least 24 of the pencils. I don't think you need a whole lot more than the 24. But now some people have 12, and that's fine too. I would definitely get 12 and above, but 24, I think 24 and 48 are amazing. Get a special pencil sharpener and sharpen them very gently because especially if they're wet, because you can use them. You can wet the fabric and then use the inktense on the wet fabric. But be careful when you sharpen them if the ink lead gets wet. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I've got all these raw edged fabrics here. I've glued them in place and I'm happy with them. And like I told you, see how I did the darker purple here and a lighter purple here. Over here, I found this fabric and thought it looked really cool, like snow or ice on a mountain. Then I did the lighter gray blue and then a more intense blue. Then I decided to switch over to the greens up here. But, and then I put a pale green here and then a brighter one in front, okay? And now it's your world and you can do it any way you want. Right now, I have got the smoky monofilament, or it's not even monofilament, the smoky polyester. Here's a spool of the YLI. This one is Superior Threads. Let me get it over here to show you. This one's Superior Threads, Monty Poly, and it's extra fine. It's like a strand of hair, but it's strong. And where it is superior to past years' monofilament is the old ones used to be so rubbery or stretchy. They would stretch and then they would break. So I love the new Monty Poly, and it's made with polyester, and that's what's better about it. So the old ones are made out of nylon, something like that, and they did that terrible stretching. So, okay. So what I'm doing is I've got my machine on zigzag, and I've got a foot with a wide space here, because heaven forbid, if you put a foot on there that just has a dot, just a hole, you'll break your needle. So I have a foot on here that has a nice wide open space for a zigzag. Okay? And I just, now that I put the extra tool, I can go up to the top edge of this tree and I'll just do a light zigzag. That just does take me just to the edge of that fabric. And I do a zigzag on down. And this is pretty simple. So I do that. Now I've already done down here. I did it Sunday. And you know what? I know why my thread's pulling up from the bobbin. It's pulling up from the bobbin because I must have accidentally hit the tension disc. So let me try it again now on this side. And what you're doing is you're using the invisible thread. You use the smoky color for the dark fabrics. Okay, I have a feeling this is going to be a lot better. Oh yeah, it's all fine now. So it was my fault, not my machine's fault. And usually works that way. Isn't that the truth? Human error is the big thing. So now I'm going to just do this part of the tree. And it's that simple. It's not a big deal. Don't go too fast. Just keep your hands flat and smooth on it. And it's so easy. And you can just zigzag along here. And unless the light catches it, you won't even be able to see it. In fact, let me get my light a little bit better here. But unless the light catches it, it's invisible. So, okay. Do it on this side. I'm mostly done with these trees. And then while I've got the smoky Monty Poly in here, I go, okay, what else needs sewn down? So all the dark colors. In fact, I'm going to do it on this purple right here. And I'll start right over at the beginning. Okay. I'll bring you in a little closer. I'll start on this purple and just zigzag right along that edge. And then just make sure you keep what you're working on smooth so you don't get any unnecessary puckers. But this is easy. I mean, there's nothing hard about this. I'm going to stop at the tree, cut the thread, skip over, or you could run it across loose and then just cut it. But I think I'd rather just cut and then continue on. Okay? So that is pretty quick. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do all of this. Now I'm going to try this smoky color. Whoops. I did run out of it. Hold on. I've got to thread my needle again. But so this is one thing you're going to do. And once you get everything sewn down, that's when you start working on, when I put it back on here. Oh, I got the thread caught under the spool. My fault. Again, user error. All right. So let me see if I can get this. Hurry up. Okay. But when you go to look at your thread, your fabrics to do your mountain, just decide what colors you want to choose. The wonderful thing about applique, this kind of rough, raw edge applique, landscape work, is it doesn't use that much fabric. So it's a great hobby for buying fat quarters, because you don't need the yardage like you do in piece work. So, okay. All right. So you're going to do that. Oh, it broke again. I have put it on here raw incorrectly, and thread keeps catching. So, but you know how to do that now that you've seen me do that. All right. So you just go along. That's true. Because you know what? When you see something that's a little too glossy and a little too perfect, I get intimidated. If there's a teacher in the classroom that's just perfect, I freeze up because that's not how my work goes. But anyway, so you'll go along and you'll decide. Now, let's say you don't have the smoky dark. Then just use all the clear monofilament. It's not that big of a deal, but I happen to have the clear and the smoky. So you just go along and you stitch down every top of every piece. Even here with the tool, go along and stitch that down. A nice little zigzag with invisible thread. Now, once you do that, then it's time to do thread painting. And I don't think we'll be able to get too far into that, but let's try a little bit just to give you an idea, okay? So this is where it really helps if you pull out your wide variety of threads. That one thing about these, get a piece of masking tape and tape your spool, because that stuff ends up everywhere and it's hard to follow it. So I'm going to take off my smoky, and I mean it unwinds so easily. Oh, and just so you know, use a neutral thread in your bobbin, just one of your regular cotton threads. So here's my smoky, and here is my clear. Now I'm going to put on brown because I'm just going to show you. It's kind of it's really pretty. It's not just brown. It's kind of plum brown. Really unusual color. And another thing, anybody ever offers you thread, take it. Because once you become a thread painter, you can go through some thread and you need a variety of colors. So I'm always looking for people trying to give away thread. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy like Aurifil, because it's just thread painting. So I am always looking for thread other people don't like. It's like, I'll take your thread. Okay, now let me get the camera back down. And I'm going to show you a couple little things. Like right here. I'm going to do some thread painting. Put my machine back on a regular stitch. I've got that beautiful dark thread in it. And I'm going to do some thread painting that's going to put some definition in this mountain. Okay? Right here. And you can't really see it. You don't want to see it too much yet anyway. I could always get a slightly darker color if I wanted to. But let's do this again and see. And I kind of zigzag my hands. Let me do some of it up here so you can actually see it better. Because I can see it, but it doesn't always show up on camera. Here's the lighter lavender. So let's see how it looks. And you can always do a slight zigzag stitch. Let me see if this will help a little. Okay. So I can always do a slight zigzag stitch if I want to show more. And in fact, I will see how it, well, I don't know if you can actually see it. Just let me try to do along this edge. Oops, I'm going to do a smaller. I don't want it quite as wide. But you're just going to go in here and give it texture. And this is going to help to give a little definition to that ridge. Where I was talking about giving it a sharper edge, that's what this will do. Okay, there you go. You see, you can see that now. And I'm going to go over it maybe one more time, just a little. And keep it natural and zigzaggy. Don't make it too straight. And what this is going to do is it's going to help delineate this. So let me start back here. And you can do whatever kind of stitch you want. You don't have to have a zigzag. You can have any. You could use some of your unusual decorative stitches. Okay. Now, let me see. Oh, ran out of bobbin. But what you're going to do, is you're going to give it definition with this. Let me just put a neutral, partially wound bobbin in here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is shrink up that zigzag even more. And let's try it. I think that bobbin. Yeah, that bobbin caught. It's not a good bobbin. All right. But let me show you what I've got so you can see where thread painting is going to help. It's giving you some definition at the top of this mountain, and then you can start doing the crags and the. And let me grab another bobbin really quickly. So let me see what y'all are talking about. My feed dogs are up. because I'm one of these people that rarely put my feed dogs down. I like pulling against I like pulling against the tension of the feed dogs. It keeps my stitching from getting all wonky. If I have too much freedom, it's a mess. But you decide what you want to do. But I do my thread painting with my feed dogs up. I and how I knew that was okay is you probably heard of Sharon Chambers. She's from Pennsylvania, and she does amazing quilts. She would put rice bags on her long arm, and so that she could kind of give it some resistance. She would, and that way her quilting was better because it slowed her down and gave her a little more control. So I thought, well, instead of using a rice bag, why don't I just leave the feed dogs up? And I've never broken a needle. That's what you always think of. If you worry, you think, oh, I'd break a needle, but I've never broken a needle. So now I'll put this, let me put a new bobbin. There was way too little thread left in that one. And just any neutral thread. This is a little light, but it was sitting here and I wanted to use it. All right, here we go. So note to self, before the next Landscape Sunday, or Landscape Thursday, have plenty of bobbins filled. All right, so now that I've got that bobbin, let's go back over, and I'll show you this in more detail next week. But I'm just trying to give you something to think about and work on. And maybe this Sunday, I'll do a little bit more of this for any of you who are moving along at a pretty good pace. All right, let me bring the camera back down. And what I'm doing is giving definition and form to these mountains. So let's see. What I'm going to do is get my chalk. I'm going to get my chalk, and I'm going to come in here this time, and here, and here. Okay, so I just drew a chalk line, and let me follow that one this time. Okay. All right, now let's see how this looks. There we go. Do you see how we're making this mountain come alive? We're giving it definition. All right. Some people call this thread sketching. I call it thread painting. And it's probably more of thread sketching. And don't have any fear. Just enjoy it. A lot of times, like right here, I can follow a line that's in the fabric. The fabric already has this little line. So let's see what that looks like. And you can't mess up. You can't make a mess because this is your quilt. And anybody looking at it's not going to, what is it supposed to look like? They won't know. Nobody knows. So it's just your method of play. Okay, let's see. All right. So now let's pull this out. And there's what we have. Okay. So we have started giving the mountain a little definition. Because a mountain is not smooth and it's got all kinds of different lines running in it. So that will show you. So just remember that you glue on your fabrics and you start from the top and work down. Then you get invisible thread. And if you don't even have any invisible thread, just use matching thread and just do a very light zigzag to tack it down because you've only got glue on it so far. But let me tell you a couple things you're going to be looking forward to in this series. We're going to do a lot more thread painting, and you have to do that after you tack everything down, you do your thread painting. After we do the thread painting, down by the tree, I'm going to do thread painting grasses that grow up on the tree and little flowers in the little meadow, and maybe a deer, maybe a bunny rabbit. Who knows? It's my world. I can do whatever I want on it. My sewing machine is an Elna 7200, and she just spent time in the spa, and she's very happy right now. So right now, I'm going to tell her she's my favorite. And we won't say anything about the Juki upstairs. She's my favorite. So anyway, I'm thinking about, I would like to show you a wide variety, and confetti's fun. That's a lot of fun. So I'll end up showing you that too. And so if you want to get some close to clear tulle as you can, or if you already have some of that fusible powder, it's very expensive, so I don't have any. But I'm thinking about using the confetti idea for up here in the trees. I think that'll be fun. So, so anyway, once you get all your fabrics into position and glued, then you get your monofilament and you sew all your edges down. Sew everything down, okay? Then we'll start thread painting. And you can decide where you want to put your thread painting. This Sunday, I'll probably show you thread painting of the trees because that's a lot of fun. And some of the fabric has bark shapes, so all I have to do is thread paint along the bark shapes. And it's just a matter of straight stitch sewing on the trees. I'll just follow lines or make my own lines, even if they aren't there. But I can't wait. I'm going to use white thread for the mountaintops to replicate that snowy look. So I'll show you all of this next week. And then after we do our thread painting, then we're going to take our scraps of batting and we're going to cut them into the shapes. Now, if you want, you will have already used your pattern. If you want to cut the shapes apart from your pattern, cut the tree out, cut all of these big shapes, or somehow draw it on the batting and cut your batting to those specific shapes. Because then what they're going to be doing, you're going to be gluing them on the back of this. You glue those shapes, the tree shapes, right where the trees are in front, right where the mountains are on the front. Then we'll use a thin layer of inexpensive muslin or scrap fabric you have laying around, and that'll act like a backing, but it's not the real backing, but it's an interim backing. So then when you go in and on your regular domestic machine, you're going to sew right along the edges of all the shapes you have on the front. And that will give you definition. So your trees will have a little rounded look. That's why you have to cut them that shape. You can't just put batting on everything. They have to be that shape. So, and then after that, we're going to come in and we're going to embellish. We're going to add fun stuff. And then after that, we'll put a pretty backing on it and we'll do the final quilting. And then I'll show you how I bind it that looks like a picture frame so that then it's ready to just hang on the wall. So anyway, those are our steps. Oh, and don't forget the last step too is going to be inktense, because then you can get in and give shadows and give form and add pops of color. I mean, that is the icing on the cake, or maybe the cherry on top. So that's what we're going to work on, and we're going to work on it slowly, a week at a time. We'll go through it together, and that way, any questions you have, I can handle them. Now, if you can't wait until then and you have a question for me, I don't want you to be held up. So write me at ourtimetoquilt@twc.com. I'm pretty good on the email, and I'll answer you pretty quickly. So if you don't get an answer from me, then somehow it didn't go through, try again. But Our Time to Quilt at twc.com. And I will be glad. I'll answer your questions. I'll take pictures to show you whatever it takes, because the main thing is for you to feel successful, for you to enjoy learning how to landscape quilt, because it's fun. It's like playing with coloring books and cut out paper dolls and all of that. All right. Well, Patricia, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I'll have to look back at this and see if you had an idea what time you're going through. And but enjoy Pineapple Fabrics, and just take a little rolling cart when you go in and just look and enjoy. And please, if you see someone there or you start talking to someone there, tell them you learned about them from Our Time to Quilt, because that's always good. Let them know that we love their shop. All right, Patricia, have a good time. Any questions before I go? Oh, she'll be there around 11. She's going to see me. So you know what I look like. Just look for me. You can't miss me. I'm 5'7". I'm a big girl. You can't miss me. So that's great. All right. And next Thursday, we'll do it again. And I might show you a few little things, and especially if I have a chance to work on it just a little bit. So, but come back Sunday. We do our longer live stream on Sunday, and I'll have lots of pictures of this kitchen cabinet painting I'm doing. Luckily, I have a, Lula and, what is her name? My favorite. She's so funny. Oh, well, I'll have the name for you. It's, something 25. She does the numbers, the mysteries in a series of numbers. So it is so good to see all of you. I'll be a little more awake next week, because I'm hoping that we get that kitchen done this weekend. So I can't wait to show you. I think you're really going to like it. I think it's a good thing. All right. Oh, yes, we'll have to take a picture. I need to get my camera. I'll have my camera with me. I'll have a picture. Maybe can I interview you there, Pat? We'll have to see. She might shy off at that. But that's great. Take care, everyone. It has been a wonderful Thursday evening to share with you. And get started on your landscape, because it's fun. It's fun. It's easy. So take good care of yourself. Susan, thank you. You are a doll baby. I tell you what, Susan should be doing this. I think she'd be fabulous. So take care. Have a good week. And go hug the thing you love most that's nearest to you. Take care. Bye-bye. It was great seeing you. Bye-bye, you guys. Take care. Y'all are the best. Mwah.